Hello everyone, welcome to the Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And in example 587 of why I hate both millennials and also Zoomers, we are going through yet another Politics Joe Vox Pop. This time they are going around talking to people about how they feel about university prices being hiked, despite the fact that due to the way student loans work, technically they never actually have to pay them back. So let's get into it.
They're saying that it should go up to about £15,000.
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be able to go.
See, yes you would, because I talk about this so much I'm not even bothering to get up the plans, because I know it's got worse, quote unquote, since I went to uni, but effectively you don't pay a penny back until you are at least earning £20,000, and even when you are, it comes off as a percentage of your income. It is that alone is one of the most favourable terms for students, but not only that, I believe now as well, it used to be 30 years it's written off, now it's 35. Basically, when you turn 55, you don't have to pay a penny again. Which, okay, it eats into your income a bit, but depending how much you earn, it's not really going to be a bother. I mean, just, you know, to point it out now, I'm on median wage. I pay about £30 back a month, you take that over a year. It's something like, you know, close to £400 a year. It's not an awful lot. But obviously, as you earn more, you pay more off. You know, maybe if you're in the high earner bracket, it becomes a bit of a problem, but you're already in the high earner bracket. Who cares? But this is the problem. Most people don't realise this. Most people, because they listen mostly to Americans, they think our student debt system is like theirs, where even if you go bankrupt, it can't be wiped, it goes on after death. Obviously, it's a hell of a lot harsher over there, but people seem to think that Britain has that system. We don't. We have the most student-sided loan that you could imagine. As I say, it doesn't even need to be paid off. Hell, I remember when I went, if you worked abroad for 4 years, it was wiped as well, which I found a really, really weird incentive, because I know a load of people that worked abroad simply to wipe that student debt. Surely if you educate them here, you want them to work here to pay it off, but whatever, I digress.
I don't think I'll ever pay off my student loan.
Yeah, that's true of most people. You really are kind of being subsidised by the average worker here who didn't go to university. Because technically, yeah, if you don't pay off your student loan, you got subsidised to go to uni. That's just how it works. And this is why people are so critical of low-value degrees, because you're never going to pay it back, and people don't want to subsidise you for doing American studies, feminist dance theory. I don't actually think we do that in the UK. Or sociology. You know, these degrees that don't really get you anywhere. You know, I know people that went to uni, did these sorts of degrees, and effectively have not been working particularly high-value jobs since. And, you know, we're pushing 30 now. You'd think people would be on a career path. And, you know, I didn't get onto a grad scheme until I was about 24. You know, I was out of uni for 3 years before I really started a career. So I understand it, but you can understand why people who are working jobs who never went to university get quite fed up of hearing, oh my god, these fees, what am I doing? When ultimately it's your choice if you go or not. And you know, part of the deal of if you go is that you have to pay back this debt. Which again is so student-sided, I just can't take any complaints about it seriously.
If it's 15 grand, you're definitely never paying that off.
It is a big concern because it's pretty much a student tax instead of a debt, because it goes up with inflation.
I mean, this guy kind of gets it, but he used the wrong words. I don't particularly like calling it a tax, but it is effectively another part of your income tax. But at the same time, it's one that you freely signed up to. So again, I have absolutely no sympathy for people who complain about it. But no, your student loan doesn't go up with inflation. I think he means that the overall amount you pay back goes up along with the interest rate that's set with it. I think when I left uni it was like 6%. I think it's something like 9% now. And, you know, there were people on Twitter like Callum from, well, X-Load Seaters and Not So Obvious, who were posting the amount that they owe, and it's over £70,000. And they just laugh because they're never expecting to pay it off, and they know that it's going to be written off, and it actually caused me to check mine. I'm in a much better position than I thought, but I was very lucky in that my dad saw it and said, that's ridiculous, that interest rate is ridiculous, I'm going to help you out. So I could actually technically pay mine off if I save, and depending how much money I'm on, it might actually help in the future, but for now, I am definitely in the mindset of just let it ride, and we'll see where I'm up to in the future. I mean, it's so low I'm actually embarrassed to post it because I know I got a lot more help than other people, but the reality of the situation is that I tried to tell my dad it's pointless, it gets written off by the time I'm 50, but clearly my dad wanted me to actually be not having to pay this off when I'm in my 40s. But when I signed it, I thought that was going to be happening anyway, but I mean, he was happy to do it, so whatever. He will be going to a very good nursing home, I can guarantee that.
Mental load of that. You're talking 45,000 on just your tuition fees, never mind the maintenance fees to actually live.
Yeah, this is another problem, and it's another part of the government where they're trying to tighten the purse strings. Effectively, inflation has gone up quite rapidly over the last few years, and the maintenance grant and maintenance loan have not been affected whatsoever. So when I was at uni, I think you got a grant of about 1,500, depending how rich your parents were, and it was supposed to cover your rent and living costs, and a lot of people had to get a part-time job to keep money going to, go out and have fun and things like that. I was lucky enough to do well enough for my A-levels that the university actually paid me £1,000 a year to just go to the uni, which was very nice of them and allowed me to skip the job. The thing is that I don't think those numbers have gone up too much since I left. I have no idea what they are now, but from people I know who've gone to uni, pretty much everyone I know, even those on the highest grants, still need to go out and get a part-time job. It's certainly not ideal, and if they don't get a part-time job, it's because their parents have to bankroll them, which is understandable. Effectively, you're just, you're still paying for them to get educated. They're willing to do it. But ultimately, the reason that the government don't want to keep these things in line with inflation is because if they do, these student loans are going to balloon, and they know that they're not getting any of them paid back. I do mean any, unless you happen to become a multi-millionaire. But how many people become that these days who go to uni? Answer, not very many.
Coming from maybe not the best background, it's hard enough to go to uni as it is.
I mean, again, the whole point of the student loan is that you don't have to worry about the money side of things. Well, at least that was the theory of it. Obviously, with the loans now, it's not as good as it was when I went to uni. Certainly not as good as it was when my brother and sister went to uni, who only needed summer jobs, and where their university fees were £3,000 a year. It was £9,000 a year when I went, and it's been 9,250 ever since I left. And if that's happened and inflation's gone up 11%, obviously they're going to need more money, or they need to strip back what they offer. But these incentives are so bastardised that they are basically trying to get people from abroad into these universities who barely speak English, by the way, because they end up paying an awful lot of money. We're talking £25,000 a year. And these have basically turned into businesses where they're incentivised to do that. Now, obviously, the only way to stop them being like this is to effectively tell them, you're not going to bring in people who can't speak English anymore, you're not going to focus on foreigners coming in anymore, you're going to have to make cuts where you can, and the main way they're going to do that is by cutting effectively the subjects where people who leave are making the least amount of money. This is what people mean by low value, degrees that clearly don't really get you anywhere in life and effectively waste 3 of your years. And if you're wondering what those are, well, don't worry, the universities will find that out for you.
That's probably a reason why they're raising fees as well, to try and make it more for the elites again.
Now, these people haven't gone to uni, so I'm assuming that they are 16 to 17 years old. These people are going to be voting for the first time next time, and they're saying stupid things like this. No, you are not going to be kept out of university, because the way the student loans work is that they're not supposed to be elitist. They literally means test you how much you need for the loan. They are literally there to help everyone get to university. If you are from a low-income family and they cannot help you during your time at university, you get more of a grant, more of a loan to help you get through without needing too much help from your parents, if any. If you are from a richer family, you get basically no loan, because the idea is your parents help you through uni financially. Again, putting these university fees up, the only problem you're going to run into is effectively other people's money is going to run out because, again, you're not going to pay off your student loan. Who pays it then? Everyone else.
So the body representing UK universities has said they want to or need to up tuition fees. What do you make of that?
I was actually watching this on TikTok on the way up to London today, and they wanted about 3-4 grand extra.
Okay, that's not 15,000, but still. But again, 3-4 grand extra. Again, I've just come back from holiday. I'm not really bothered to do more than a back of the fag packet calculations, but that is probably about in line with how much inflation's gone up since the last time university fees were increased. So I don't even necessarily think it's that unreasonable.
Disgusting. I'm sorry, it's so bad.
Why? The university and the lecturers and every other piece of staff at university needs to be paid? How are they supposed to be paid? Oh, they're going to be paid the same way anyway, with everyone else subsidising you. Like, honestly, even if we got rid of student fees, you'd still have a massive tax bill. Because someone's got to pay for half the people in Britain, or young people in Britain, to go to university. I mean, honestly, I'm quite open about this. I want universities to be quite elitist again. Some people I met at uni, the work they did was unbelievably poor. Again, I say this all the time. I bring up American studies a lot because I knew people that did it. One of their modules was simply to go in on a Wednesday morning, watch a film, and then effectively write a review of the film for the next week. That was one of their modules. And my God, I saw the bookshelf of people that did American studies. It's exactly what you would expect from a British university reading up about America. All left-wing perspectives on race in America, how all they did was murder Indians, how the Ku Klux Klan was this massive thing in America apparently, just such a one-sided view of the whole thing. I even asked people who did American studies, you know, what do they think of them dropping the nuke on Japan? All of them thought it was a horrendous crime against humanity, and I literally had to be the one to tell them, no, actually it's quite reasonable because it saves millions of lives not having to do a land invasion of Japan. Like, it was obviously the right thing to do, and they just never heard that alternative perspective. £9 grand a year.
Of course, I'm a home student, so I just finished my bachelor's degree, so 9,250 every year.
Probably the only person in that year who's actually going to manage to pay off his student loan eventually. Bear in mind that's just under £19,000 that he needs to pay off. With whatever percentage of interest there is on the student loans at the moment, if he gets a decent job, he'll at least be outpacing interest, which is about all you can ask from people at this point.
I find in our university it's hard enough to access. Like, I think us as the nursing department really don't see much of the budget, so it's just bad enough that it's going on students.
I think this woman works at a university, obviously in the nursing department, as a lecturer or staffer, I don't know. But I'm not being funny, an awful lot of the budget will be going towards medicine and nursing because, you know, we kind of need a lot of nurses and doctors. But again, it's entirely down to people's own choices of whether they go to university for 15 grand a year, or 9 grand a year, or 9.25 grand a year. It's never really explained to me why it's unreasonable that people should pay for their own education after they've had 18 years of state-sponsored education, at least 95% of people did. Other than, well, education should just be free, shouldn't it? No, not necessarily. Hell, Sweden made all their schools private and they're doing pretty well.
I think also, like, coming from maybe not the best background, it's hard enough to go to uni as is, and if you don't have a lot of backing behind you, like, not everyone has maybe parents' money to support them, like, it's just going to make it harder. University's already expensive, like, seems they're making it more difficult.
Again, for some reason it has to be reiterated. This loan does not have to be paid off. It gets written off after 35 years. People literally just check into their student loan to see the line go up. That's the main reason people look at it. Again, I'm one of the lucky ones who doesn't have to do that. But I think most people who are ex-students in the UK will be surprised to hear that. They'll be like, wow, you're really lucky. How the hell did that happen? And I'll just say, well, I guess my dad makes poor financial choices, I don't know. But when it comes to poorer students having to go to university, again, they get larger loans, they get larger grants, it's all means tested. Again, the issue is that those have not gone up in line with inflation. But again, if they want to get that sort of thing, that's what they apply for. That's the point of the student loan system. Everyone can go to university. It's just, it's not necessarily been a good thing for them. It's not necessarily been a bad thing either, but I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty much at the point, I didn't even do a bad degree, but I'm pretty much at the point where I'm actually embarrassed to say I went to uni, because the amount of people that go on to grad schemes and have no idea how the professional world works and act like they didn't just do 3 years of hard studying is beyond me.
When my older siblings went, it was £3 grand, which was, they've paid off their student loans now. I don't think I'll ever pay off my student loan.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the well, I'm not in the exact same spot. I thought I was in the exact same spot of most people my age are in the exact same spot of this as this woman. I have older siblings. They both paid theirs off in their mid-30s. You know, I'm one of the lucky ones. I might be able to do that. But no, most people my age are not expecting to pay it off whatsoever. And again, people are trying to tell me that this is a bad thing, that they'll never pay it off. No, it gets written off. It's an unbelievably good thing. It's one of those things, I think people shouldn't try and push back on this because you've effectively got a golden goose here. I don't know why you'd want to upset it.
I don't think I ever will. I think it's ridiculous. It's that they keep increasing it.
The initial preconception of paying 15,000 a year for a course, like, I think that puts it out of a reach for lots of people.
Oh my god, I don't know why people keep saying this. Why do people keep acting like they don't know what student loan entails? How many people are signing this student loan application without understanding it? I remember when I signed up for it, I had like a 2-hour phone call with people at student loans explaining how it all works, that I don't have to pay it off technically. I mean, they didn't say that, but they say it gets written off. In my induction at uni, or it was at open day, it was at every open day I went to, they explained how student loans work. They all mention it gets written off. I don't know why people are saying that this becomes a gateway to some people. It doesn't. Student loans covers it, and you never have to pay it back.
Some people maybe choose to pay a bit of themselves or even get a loan for it.
Yeah, they do get a loan for it, exactly. And it's the most student-sided loan I've ever seen.
And also the mental load of that. You're talking 45,000 on just your tuition fees, never mind the maintenance fees to actually live.
If there are people in my audience who are worried about that, I'd like to point out yet again that Callum, ex-Lotus Eater, and Mark from Not So Obvious both pointed out that their student loan is currently over £70,000. They're not worried, they laugh about it because they know it will get written off as soon as they hit the tender old age of 50. Or 51, 52, it depends when they left. Don't worry about it. The government literally can't change these contracts because you signed it without basically being taken to court and being crippled that way instead. Take advantage of these student loans while they last, because this is completely unsustainable. But if you sign this contract, you're on the side of that unsustainableness where you're not going to hit the negative consequences of it. Your kids, though, might be a different story, so make sure they do well in school.
And I think you're looking at 70, 80,000 for just an undergraduate degree.
That never technically needs to be paid off.
Which can really put people off and restrict lots of people from getting education at different institutions around the country.
I don't know a single person who hasn't gone to uni who is thinking of not going to uni because of the student loans. Because again, every time they look into it, they found out, oh, I don't actually need to pay that back. I don't know why these people who have student loans are worried about it. Again, the amount that comes out of your salary really isn't much, unless you're one of the high earners. And I find it really funny when people start saying, oh, but if you're on a high salary, you need to pay a lot back. I just say, well, it sounds like the rich are paying their fair share. And then they say, no, that's not how it should work. Again, I feel like I'm in this arc of just not caring about leftist opinions at this point, but it really is nothing to do with their ideology or anything about that. They just want to complain. It's as ContraPoint says, all they want to do is critique power. If they actually got any, they wouldn't know what to do. How do I know this? The Labour government are doing their best to absolutely trounce themselves as a party because they don't know what to do. Because we're in a system that incentivises idiots getting into power. So if we're going to have idiots in power, let's at least make them funny idiots.
You're 18 and you decided not to go to uni because of how expensive it is. Yeah.
Again, I can't tell how old these girls are. They sounded at first like they didn't go to uni. Now they're saying, oh, people at the age of 18. So they might have gone to uni. They might be at uni. I don't know. It's a bit confusing. But anyway, again, they're making people up in their head. I have family members. I have friends that are under 18, literally all of them are still expecting to go to uni. None of them care about student loans. Because they know it's a loan, and again, people keep explaining to them, it's not that bad, it just comes out of your income, you'll never be put into further debt because of it. You technically don't have to pay it off, because it gets written off after so many years. Oh, think about all these 18-year-olds, what if they don't go to uni because of the money? Barely anyone's doing it, but basically no one's saying that. Because they know it's basically free.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the decision not to go to university.
I was basically just like, I don't want the debt when I can get paid and get the same qualification. That was the logic. I was like, okay, yeah, the life experience might be a plus, but like, I'm gonna be ahead if I don't go. So
Yeah, this is actually very little to do with the debt, to be honest with you. She seems to have understood that a lot of people get degrees and then complain they can't actually do anything. Again, I was in this position. I got a degree and worked at a supermarket for 2 years. That was when I started my channel, actually. And I ended up doing a part-time internship in software development. I don't tell my employees this, but it was at my dad's company. Then I ended up on a grad scheme, as I say, I think I was 24 at the time. Or maybe I was 23, I don't remember. But point being is that I didn't go straight from uni into a decent job. Hell, I wouldn't even say I was in a decent job until a few years into that grad scheme, because the training time I didn't get paid. And then, well, I suppose my first job I got paid extra because it was technically a London job. But yeah, as I say, I look at my paycheck every month since then. You know, it started off, it's about a tenner a month going to student loan. Oh, now it's about 30. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't really bother anyone. I don't know anyone who's on enough money, again, pushing 30, who says, wow, student loan is crippling me. There's nobody saying that. There is nobody expecting to pay it off. People don't go to uni not because of the student loans. They don't go to uni because they can see people coming out and being in no better position than when they were 18. That's pretty much how I felt, by the way. I didn't feel my degree was really getting me anywhere. It got me onto a grad scheme. That's probably the most useful thing it did. But as I say now, I'm almost embarrassed to say I went, because I've learned so much more being on jobs. Honestly, it's a much better experience. Unless you're going to be very academically inclined and you think you're going to go into research or something like that, don't go to university would be my advice. Or if you know a job you want that requires a degree, if you know that in advance, you had a better life plan than I did, and yeah, follow that.
Yeah, working
experience is more valuable. Like, loads of people getting degrees now, so it's like a degree isn't as valuable anymore. It's about the experience. So like, I need to get that to stand out if I want to actually go far.
Yeah, this is the other problem. A lot of people who go to university do it basically just to extend their kind of 18-year-old let's go mad phase. My God, I do mean this. People go to university effectively to delay maturity. I did notice that, which is fine if you want to do it, but, you know, expect debt from it, I guess, but debt that's mostly meaningless. But this girl seems to have her head on straight and seems to be thinking about her future much more seriously. And this is generally what I see from people who don't go to university. They're thinking much more about their future, which is great. But we are in a ridiculous place where going to uni actually seems like a disadvantage to people who are at the age of signing up to UCAS to go to university. They're thinking of just not bothering because they see it literally as a disadvantage to their career. How bad do universities have to be that people unironically think going to your institution will harm their career prospects? It's horrible.
Do you think if you had to pay 15 grand per year, it would have changed how you felt about going to university?
Absolutely.
And this is frankly just a lie. Again, everyone I know has student loan basically has never checked it because they don't expect to pay it off. That attitude's just going to carry on. I mean, it is amazing. This woman's logic has been, oh, I never expect to pay my student loan off. Oh, if your student loan was bigger, would you not have gone? No, I wouldn't have gone. Total lie. You already don't expect to pay off your student loan. What's more onto the loan going to do?
I mean, I even considered it when it was 9 grand, because I even had like my siblings go, oh, no, that's a lot of money. I only paid 3 grand. And I get it, it's a loan, but you never pay it off, really. But if it's 15 grand, you're definitely never paying that off. And it's just like, for some people, it's a debt that's in the back of the mind all the time. So yeah, no, absolutely not.
Again, she's all over a place for a reasoning. Oh, my sibling said it was a lot. Sibling said it was a lot for me as well. But again, I said, well, I don't actually have to pay it off. It gets written off in 30 years. What's the problem? And everyone just says, yeah, all right, fair enough. I mean this completely unironically. I have not talked about student debt to anyone I know who went to university at all. I have literally never talked about it because we know it's just part of our paycheck. That's all we know it as. Oh, it's just 30 quid going to that. Oh, what's it on? Oh, don't care. Don't expect to pay it off anyway. That's all people think. Adding on another, 6 grand a year or whatever? Yeah, it's going to be even more of that attitude. So, no, I just don't believe this woman when she said she wouldn't go if it's 15 grand. Why would anyone be put off when they are constantly effectively told, oh, you just need to pay a bit of your income to it, it's barely anything, and it gets written off anyway? Who's going to say no to that?
I mean, one of the reasons I chose London is I get to stay at home, I live just a bit further out, and I can just commute in, save a lot of money on other fees. I don't have to take out as much other student finance. So it is a big concern, because it's pretty much a student tax instead of a debt, because it goes up with inflation, and inflation keeps rising. It's never going to go down. So realistically, unless you're earning huge amounts, you're not going to pay off your student debt until the band that I was in is about 40 or 45. They just clear it. So
50 or 55, he means. But again, these people are all over the place. They don't really seem to understand what they signed up to. Again, I just want to point out, no, inflation going up actually means that you pay less, because the amount of money in that student loan is worth less. You actually want inflation to be higher, because it means that effectively the loan is worth less, so you actually have to pay less off technically. So yeah, as I say, it means interest rates, but again, I want to keep pointing out, these people vote. These people vote and they don't even understand the debts they're in. I mean, they kind of understand. It's really weird. It's like it's high status to say, oh, I owe money, it's really bad. But then when you point out, I mean, they point out every now and then, oh, it's just a bit of your income. Oh, it gets written off anyway. But seeing that as a good thing is seen as low status. It's really, really strange. Again, these people are not coherent. It's just about critiquing power. They don't care about anything else. Oh, the university system's bad, I don't like it. Yet it's the best university system for getting as many people into it as we could possibly come up with. And because of that, it's completely unsustainable. So take advantage of it while you can, I'd say, if you care about going to uni.
So it is a big concern. I know a lot of people that are just choosing to do degree apprenticeships, just going straight into work, doing trade.
Again, as I said before, though, that's not because of the student loan, because again, the student loan's basically free. Okay, a bit more of your income gets taken off. Again, it's basically nothing until you're in the high earner tax brackets, which again in Britain is, you know, it's it's a mid earning for the US. Like high earner, you got to realise is £50,000 plus. That is what people consider rich in the UK, when really that should be the median income. But no, as I say, I'm on around median income, less than £30 a month. It's nothing. I buy one less beer a week. Nobody who doesn't have a camera in front of them even talks about student loan, because it's nothing. It's a nothing burger. We don't have the American system. At least these people understand that. At least this guy understands that it gets written off. But even when he admits that, he still has to say, yeah, it's a bad system. Most student-sided system I've ever seen in my life, and it's still bad.
You guys were saying that you are studying mental health nursing. Do you worry that a tuition increase would put people off studying mental health nursing?
So the benefits of studying mental health is we get what's called a learning support fund, which is funded by the NHS. So there are incentives to study. Not all subjects have that incentive. So they might be pushing certain people out of specific subject areas.
Yeah, but again, out of everyone you've asked in this Vox Pop who hasn't been to uni and is saying, I don't want to go, student loans is only coming up because you're asking directly about them, but they instantly just switch to, yeah, I think uni's going to actually hold me back. I'd rather just get into the workforce. So again, I just don't believe anyone who says, yes, student loans are the worst thing ever, because they're just not. I mean, when I was on a stag do recently, there was just this random woman who I did not like in a bar that some of the guys were talking to, and she brought up student loans, and in my drunk mind I just went, oh yeah, that loan you don't actually have to pay back, and she gave me the worst scowl I think I've ever seen. It's simply because I was undermining her opinion that she's in this debt because of student loan. It's like, no, it's your other stupid choices that did it, was my implication. Student loan has nothing to do with the position she was complaining about, and, well, I mean, as I say, random woman in a bar, I just left the other guys to talk to her and went off to another group. But this is what I mean. People understand that student loans are basically not a problem. People just want to pretend it's a problem to attack the government. That's the only reason for it.
One of the things that I've heard is that a lot of the sectors, like the NHS, pay for their medical students to go through it. However, when you're talking with the banking sector, law sector, these don't pay anything, any fees, any subsidiary to the universities, whereas these are pretty much the biggest winners of the university system. So you could argue that they should have to pay their fair share of what they get out of the university system, and they don't pay anything at the moment.
What the hell are you talking about? The students pay it. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what you want now, businesses to subsidise university fees. I'm not being funny, but some companies I've been to, especially corporate ones, they actually sponsor you through master's courses. Like, some companies do that if they think the risk is worth it, but they're not just going to blanket let everyone have money for their degrees because they can't guarantee a return on investment in that. And again, this is the same guy before who said, yeah, I don't even have to pay it off anyway. Like, he understands it's student-sided and he still wants extra subsidies for it, despite the fact everyone else is basically subsidising him through university. It's just nuts. And yeah, the NHS do it as part of their training routine. Like, it's fine, it's part of their training budget, but, you know, these banks, these law firms, they have to also then train postgraduates. You have to do a few years of solicitor traineeships once you go through university. Banks put you through a training scheme once you go through university, so they have to pay for that. They're not also going to pay for everyone's law and business degree in hopes that they then go to them through a grad scheme. It's just not reasonable. At least with nursing, you know that they don't really have a choice but to go into the NHS. I mean, I can't. These people vote, and they have no idea of incentives or business. I keep saying it. Going to university seems to make you dumber. That just seems to be what happens.
So I think changing tuition fees, which they're going to have to do if they start now, just keep doing it incrementally, isn't going to actually fix the core problem.
Well, yeah, the core problem is that you turn them into businesses, and so they're incentivized to try and maximize their profits, which is effectively a never-ending pot of money when effectively it's all subsidized by the government. There's a problem with incentives. Government subsidised tuition for the most pointless degrees on the planet. That is the system we have now. I mean, I'm pretty sure over in America you're seeing it start to crumble because too many people are coming out of university with these student debts that have much harsher punishments for having this debt and not paying it off. In Britain you don't have that, so of course what do universities do? They turn into bums on seats universities. They get anyone they can to get on their seats because it gets them more money. Whether that be in law degrees or completely pointless, you know, black studies degrees. Kahindi Andrews has openly said on podcasts that the only reason he actually managed to get his black studies degrees in the University of Birmingham is because he basically said, I can get bums on seats for this. That's basically all he had to say, and they're like, great, we want profit, go, go, go. Like, effectively what this system has done is subsidise nonsense degrees that everyone hates. And then these people have the gall to say, oh, there's no such thing. Of course there is.
Compared to other European countries like Germany, where tuition fees are free and are significantly lower for international students as well, and they're still able to do it. If we follow a similar model to that, then I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but just having a quick Google around, about 32.3% of Germans go to university, which is much, much less than half the people in the UK who go to university. So if we're going to have a more German system, effectively you're going to have to make universities slightly more elitist. Which, as I say, I'm not necessarily against, because it will force them to actually have degrees of value rather than degrees that make them money, that come straight from the taxpayer. So, yeah, maybe the German system is better. I'm fine with the universities effectively being free, as long as they are very difficult to actually get into and actually take academic achievement to get into, rather than just kind of being, oh, 3 Cs, yeah, come to these ex-polytechnic universities to learn about, you know, as we say, some Mickey Mouse subject. I don't know, sociology. You'll be fine, you've got a foundation year. Just, again, the system is clearly broken and does need reform. If that means it's more German and therefore slightly more elitist, I am fine with that.
And it will encourage more people to go to university.
It might encourage more people to want to go to university, but it will make it harder for everyone to go to university. You'll actually end up with less people going to university because it's harder to get into.
I think they obviously need to figure out how they can fill the deficit. Ever since, well, Brexit, there's been a significant decrease in international students coming in, which is why they're citing these budget deficits. There's simply a lack of international students to offset the fees for home fee students, which is how it's worked for many years.
Yeah, man, that's a really bad thing. How did these universities survive? Well, you see, we've got to rely on foreigners. And again, a big reason people actually want these universities to keep existing is because it's massive, absolutely massive for the housing market. Because you have thousands of people moving to university and needing these rental apartments, these rental houses. My God, that is good business if you own any of this student accommodation. And it's basically how our economy works at the moment. Everything is basically in housing. So the whole of the economy has to revolve around that. And that's part of the reason why people want to keep half the people going to university. Because they then have to pay for accommodation. That keeps the money rolling, because that's what we've decided to put everything around these days, the housing market. And you get foreign students on top of that, my God, they pay £25,000 a year. And some of them need to do a foundation year because they don't even know English. So that adds another 25,000 to their already 75,000 3-year course. My God, that's lucrative. But no, your system's effectively broken if you are deciding that foreign students are more prioritised than home students. The whole point of the university system was to get Britain educated. You're not getting Britain educated if foreign students are put at the top of the list.
I think you need to consider realistic situations, and people may not be so keen on tax increases to fund universities when, you know, living at the moment is quite tough for lots of people, and taxing them more is also quite a difficult choice. There's no good option at the moment.
Well, there is. Make it more German and more elitist. There we go. That's what people who go to uni say we should do.
Yeah, it's just the unpopular opinion to raise taxes or a government loan, but unless you choose them to go more private and have a different system like in the States where they're privatized and not so much funded by the state, I think it's going to be a lot difficult to get that funding and people there.
Yeah, don't do it like the States. That just seems like a complete mess with their student debt. Again, we've got a golden goose here, and a lot of students seem to want to mess around with it because they think they know how it'll work better. Now, we're pretty much at a point where you really don't want to upset that apple cart. You know, looking at it from a completely student point of view, I mean, I want to completely upset it. I don't like it at all. But yeah, there's no way you're going to argue that higher taxes for everyone else to subsidise your university course is going to be popular when people know that universities can make cuts. Like, really, you've got black studies, you've got feminist studies, you've got sociology still. No, cut them all. People would rather that before their taxes go up.
I mean, the burden on the taxpayer is continually going up. It's one of the highest in the modern era. So, like I said, I think it's interesting to look at different routes of financial income, because a lot of the stress at the moment is on international students. They have to pay 22.5 grand, somewhere around that region. And that's where a lot of the money is coming from. And then there was talk last year limiting the amount of students coming internationally, which seems just a bit stupid in that sense if they're the people carrying the entire system on their backs.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the problem though, isn't it? The entire system relies on having to put foreign students in universities before British ones. The point is that it's a British university system for British people, not for everyone else. The foreign students should be an afterthought. They should be, oh, we've got space, yeah, you come along. It shouldn't be, right, foreign students first, right, we've got look at all these people in computer science, right, they're all foreign. Oh, okay, now we'll let a couple of British people in as well, right, come on, I suppose we need some. Because the problem is that you train all these people, these foreign people up, in whatever degree it is, and then they go away. They don't typically stay in Britain. I mean, I say that. I literally worked with someone who went through university and then stayed in Britain to work. It's fine if they do it. I'm fine with that. But most of them don't. And so, you know, what's happened there? How's the economy improved? Okay, universities have got a lot more money. People are getting really annoyed at universities, though. They don't want them to have more money. Because they keep wasting it on pointless degrees. So it's not working for people. You have a perverse incentive that is annoying people and would not be the way that it would be working if we had proper market conditions. Or failing that, a system that is actually there to be helpful to British people and students. That is the problem. People want two things, either market conditions or a system that actually helps British students first. Student loans are comfortably in that second point, like they do help British students an awful lot. Unfortunately, that means that they then have to be subsidised by either foreign students or the taxpayer. And then the problem as well is that, well, universities have got too much money and are now losing money in, as I say, these Mickey Mouse degrees. And people don't like that. And so, you know, it's a system that people don't like. But as I say, if you're going to do a useful degree, get in while you can, because I think this is all going to completely change, especially with the inept people we have in charge at the moment.
So we're going to have to look otherwhere else, because the university can't just keep taking money from the taxpayer, because they're going to keep needing more money. It has to go from somewhere else, in my opinion.
Well, the universities could cut costs, maybe? My God, again, I mention this every time. When I was at university, the student union had a massive budget, and the way they kept the budget is that pretty much every year they would renovate the inside of the student union. Literally just because they had the budget. How is that not a waste of money? You renovate the inside of the student union hall every year just because they need to use up the budget, and if they don't, they'll get a lower budget. Complete perverse incentives. That one example, you're probably saving quite a few uni spaces a year, because there's no way that they are trying to get the cheapest option there. In fact, they're probably saying to the contractors, oh, it costs 30,000 to redo this seat. Oh, we've got 40,000 in the budget. Take the extra 10 grand. Again, why is it always, oh, clearly these universities are struggling for money, therefore they need more money? No, they can make cuts. They can easily make cuts. They are clearly wasting a lot of money in some way or another. You cannot tell me you went to uni and thought everything that it was spent on was even 40% efficient. Because I went to uni and I know that's not true.
One of the reasons they've said that universities are struggling for money is because they've seen a decrease in international students. Why do you think that international students might be choosing not to study in the UK?
Well, what comes to my mind is the cost of the visa and the difficulty to get the visa, which is like £800, I think.
Are you kidding me? The cost of the visa, £800. Okay, and how much is your course? Oh, £25,000. Yeah, man, I'm sure the £800 visa is stopping you from coming here.
Then you also have to pay for medical insurance, which is 2K, I think.
Oh, wow, a whole 2K. Well, so far this costs about 10% per year of the university fees. And the student visa you only have to pay once for the however long your course is, by the way. So don't even tell me that this is a yearly cost. To be fair, I think the medical insurance is, but the visa ain't.
And then like getting to the UK is not as easy as it used to be, especially for the EU students.
Oh my god, what? Oh, I need my passport and a visa now. Yeah, man, let's blame Brexit. Yeah, I got here, I just needed a visa.
Because, you don't have like free movements of people as it used to be.
Yeah, I know, that's what the £800 visa was for. I get it. Again, that is nothing compared to the university fees.
I think that the tuition fees for international students are way too high for, like, I remember that in first year I was paying 22k per year for King's, then second year it went up to 24k, and then third year it went up to 26k.
And yet the first thing he complains about is £800 visa, £2,000 medical insurance. What, you think just because you come over here you can use the NHS for free? Get out of here.
And so arguably this is according to the inflation, but I do not get to really understand where the money goes, because I didn't see any really significant improvements in the university during my bachelor.
Yeah, don't worry, that's what everyone says, and this is why I don't understand why people are saying, oh, well, clearly they just need more money. No, they're wasting the money. Ugh, honestly, I can't believe his first reason for saying that it's difficult for international students to come over here is an £800 visa. And then he goes in to say, oh, actually, my university fees ended up costing nearly £80,000. Again, these people vote. Anyway, well, I say it's a quickie. It was nearly 40 minutes, that. But quick and easy video for now I'm back. I personally thought the last video I put out was actually remarkably good and intellectual stuff, about as intellectual as this channel's ever gonna get. So if you missed it, go watch it. It's the British foreign policy mistakes of the 19th century. It's very good stuff. Listen to it as you're going to sleep. And if you want more stuff like that, do join the Worcester Club. Links to all that stuff down below. Right, it's show time. Given that I'm back now, there'll be a Dustborn playthrough tonight, even though I just bought Space Marine 2 and really want to play that. Because of Enigmatic giving me money on a live stream, I am forced to play through the whole game, and I hate him for it. I think I've got about 10 streams left of that, and I'm going to unalive him. Next week, that reminds me I need to do this, we have Tosh Talks coming back. The poll is, well, it will be up by the time this video's out in the Worcester Club, so if you want to go and join the Worcester Club and vote in that and give your suggestions, please do join the links down below. Next week, that is next week, Wednesday, Dustborn again, until Regional Variations back, and I need to get guests for Laughing at the Guardian, which should return next Saturday. And videos will be out as and when I can make them. I'm hopefully going to make another one this weekend, though I'll be focusing quite a lot on Reform UK's conference, as I'm interested to see what they have to say. But anyway, with that, that's everything I had for you today. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe, become a member, etc, etc. And until next time, goodbye.